Well guys, figured I would make a post-race video to fill y'all in with what happened. And hopefully I'll be able to shoot this over a couple of days before I edit it down. But essentially we made a 2-day race. We only lasted 6 hours of the first race until we had catastrophic engine failure. But before then, it was one heck of a race. It was so much beating and banging and carnage. The attrition rate was terribly high. We didn't even race the second day and we still finished like 34th on the second day. That meant we pulled more laps on the first day than 10 cars on the second day. So and on the first day we had 2 hours of time, maybe 2.5, that we didn't even run, and we still finished in like the mid-20s. I think there was like 43 cars. But the brakes did really good. These new tires, I'm kind of on the fence about them just because it was cold weather. I might run these in the hot and then the Bridgestone Potenzas in the cold, just because if you can see, the center rib wore out where the lip, where this is, and then the lip there. That's actually not bad. I did a swap. We swapped this tire for that tire, and you can see where the groove just stopped. So I believe what that means is the car needs more negative camber to lean more that way. It's throwing it all to the outside, which is catching that. Either that or we're running too high of a tire pressure, but I've tried anywhere from 34 all the way down to like 27. And I'm kind of having the same issue, so I think it's camber related. But other than that, the car really did fly. It hauled ass. Got a little bit of door dings here and there. Got a nice scrape down there. All these little squiggly lines, believe it or not, that's tire rubber. The rubber pieces of rubber will fling off the tire and do all that. We had one big hit right here that happened, I believe, to me. Come back here. This wasn't there before. Now this was a yellow Camaro. If you watch the video, you'll see where he hit our driver. Come around here to this side. You got a lot more of the squiggly black mess. And then all this got pushed in. All of it is just inward, if you can kind of see. And if you come in here and look, this plate, this piece of galvanized, that was part, because this was a drug dealer, a drug mule car. There was a hidden compartment in that area, and then the hidden compartment in this area. So I've actually gotten the piece of galvanized plate out of there, but I haven't done it on this side yet. So when we go in there to try to beat it out, we're actually hitting the galvanized plate, not the door itself or the body panel itself. Got another pushed in area here. This was a problem because I cut so much of the door away. Now the door is flimsy. This mechanism here is flimsy. So I'm gonna have to reinforce this, come in here and probably weld something to that to where this doesn't wiggle. So what this did, we took a hit. It latches now. But I got back in the car and I'm hauling tail. I go down to turn 1, and what happens? The door just flies open, and you know, the wind was pushing it shut, but it's sitting out here, and I'm like, oh God. And then when I straightened up, it shut, but it didn't latch, so I had to come back in. But at that point, we already knew there was something wrong with the engine. Reason why we knew, our third driver who had got in, Chris, he was talking about how he could see smoke coming out from under the hood. And you can kind of see a little bit of the oily residue right here. What was happening, the breather right here was dumping smoke up here. Well, once he came in and I saw that we had air pushing out of here and it was smoke, I already knew right then the rings were gone. I was like, okay. We cooked the engine, it got too hot, oil got too thin. Who knows, whole host of things could go wrong. Because it's got the new AEM computer on it, you kind of set it and forget it. I need to have a knock sensor that is compatible with that computer so it can self-adjust the timing. And then the air fuel gauge, I need to get an O2 sensor that is also compatible with the AEM Series 2. That way, if it does run lean, which is going to make it run hotter, then we can go ahead and it'll bump up the fueling. I believe this time there's a whole multitude of problems. The flywheel thing that I tried to fix, it didn't work. It was registering like 16 degrees timing in the computer in order to run the engine right. Like more or less we manipulated the numbers. So 16 degrees timing is actually somewhere like 28, 29 degrees timing. Like you had to knock it all the way down to 2 degrees timing just to get the engine to run. And then we slowly bumped it up 2 degrees, 2 degrees, 2 degrees until go to 18 degrees, and it didn't make any more power. So it went back to 16 where it made 200 and, roughly 55 horsepower. So there is an issue with the flywheel. And what I believe is the pickup that I tried to repair, it wasn't picking up sometimes, and then other times it was. So maybe it was like spark knocking or something. Who knows? The fuel in the car was 8 months old. That could have been a problem. I don't think so. Another issue, what I really think the big issue is the surge tank. So the surge tank that is mounted up underneath the car, it does not have a return line put to it. So to me, if you don't have a return line to the surge tank, it's just gonna, the fuel pump in there is just gonna run. It's gonna heat up all that fuel in the surge tank. Now granted, yes, it's getting replenished with fresh fuel from the big tank, but as soon as the big tank has a problem and it doesn't send fuel into the surge tank, that's gonna create a pocket of air. It's gotta have the system returning to the surge tank, because when I crank the car up and I hear it, it's so loud and obnoxious, and I can just tell that it was cavitating. And that's not gonna be good for the internal workings of the fuel pump. So I believe we have to add a return to the surge tank as well as the stock fuel tank. Right now the stock fuel tank's getting all the return fuel. I believe there needs to be a Y, a T in the line, dumps it into the surge tank as well as dumping it into the stock fuel tank. So, possibly heating up your fuel. Hot fuel is going to cause pre-detonation, because it seemed to work perfectly fine for the first hour and a half, 2 hours. And then as I was driving it, I started noticing there was a hesitation around I'd say 5,100 RPM. I didn't know if that was us kicking VTEC in too early and the engine not liking it. There's just a whole host of problems that I just don't know. So this time when I'm going to take the engine out, what we're going to do, we're going to relocate this sensor here. If you can see it, this would be my water temp sensor. It just goes right down in here to this jacket, and I'm reading the temp right off of that. That's not the best place to read it. It really needs to be in this area, or in an area in the block to where I'm getting exact coolant temperatures, not just this generic thing. Because typically I used to see 150, 160 on the temp. This time I saw 180, 190, so I know she was up there higher, because it just was never going to read right. The same thing for my oil temp sensor. The oil temp sensor, if you come over here, I've showed you in my other videos. So this is where your VTEC is, and over here you have this hole here. I take that out and I put my oil temp sensor right in there. And it seems to do okay, but on the gas, I'm getting 270 degree oil temperature. When I take my foot off the gas, I get 240 degree oil temperature. It just sits there and fluctuates up and down whether I'm hitting the gas or whether I'm letting off. So I think I'm getting a lot of heat from maybe the oil pump, the whole area itself is just getting hot. And then when I take it off the gas, it's not. So what I think I need to do is get the oil pan and weld me a bung in there and have the oil sensor sitting down in the oil pan. I don't know, but I'm gonna research that to see where the best place to put an oil sensor is. But as far as that's concerned, it is what it is at this point. I do have some prospects coming, and once I get everything together, I'll make a video of that. Anybody who follows J-Series engines close enough probably understand what I'm about to do. Very few people know about it, but either way, still going to go back in with another J-Series engine. It's just not going to have so many miles on it this time. And I got to get into that computer and make sure that we don't make any dumb mistakes again. Got to get everything working right first. That flywheel not reading right, that was a really big issue. I shouldn't even erase the race, but we were trying, and we tried to just put a safe tune in it, and it didn't work. But this was an 82,000 mile engine that had the supercharger on it, so maybe it saw a lot of abuse. I don't know, but it was clean, super clean engine. So, but I'm gonna go ahead, start taking it all apart and start the process all over again. And we're gonna take our time this time. Life has gotten a little bit less hectic and less chaotic, so I can get back to addressing this with a little bit more passion behind it. So, thank y'all for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Give me a thumbs up if you like watching these videos. And until next time, y'all have a good one.